What is up? It is the Figure Hunter, and I'm out at a random field for the walk this morning, and I literally put this hat on because my hair looked like a psychopath. So this is going to be more of an opinion piece, I would say, rather than like a review of anything specific. And what we're going to talk about today is why I think Polar and the Polar line of watches is still competitive in today's world with Garmin, Suunto, and the Apple Watch and Coros. I would even say, outside of one particular and primary significant fault, I would say it's highly competitive. And we'll just dive right in. So the reason I think it's highly competitive is how well it simply summarizes your training load and summarizes your recovery every night. So if you look at the spectrum of, and I've been doing a lot of testing recently with Garmin, and Garmin is the industry leader when it comes to sports tracking, training load tracking, wellness tracking, recovery tracking. And they do it, they're the industry leader because they have a lot of sports science. So let's just put that on the table. There's nobody like Garmin in the breadth of different things they're looking at from a sports science perspective. But what Polar masters is what I would consider a thorough and yet very simple summary of recovery every night and training load. So as I've been doing a lot of testing with Garmin and all their new physiological metrics, as I've been testing the Apple Watch Ultra, the Apple Watch series with Superset. And Superset, I love it. I love that app. I mean, I just feel like this completely transforms the Apple Watch experience. Apple should buy them and incorporate it and be done with this whole debate over, can they compete in the sports and training world? It's solved. Make that an Apple app. And then Suunto, gorgeous, affordable AMOLED watch. Boom, the Suunto Race. And their training and their coaching. And then Coros with it's been a constant training device, or it's like really well done training with some development on the wellness and recovery side nightly. So that's the platform and that's the lineup. So I've been looking at the Apple Watch and Garmin for a long time, and then Whoop, throw that in there. But in all of the things, all these other lines, they all have an Achilles heel, and Polar has an Achilles heel too, but it's different. It's a different type of heel. So we'll start with the biggest and baddest and best, Garmin. Garmin has 1,400 physiological metrics. Every morning you get a report for how your recovery was in like 4 different ways. You get a report for how your sleep was, your nightly HRV and how it compares to your 7-day average, your body battery rejuvenation, and your training readiness, which is a culmination of 6 different physiological metrics. All these things are like, wow. I mean, they are doing it with a spectrum of physiological stuff. But every morning I just feel like this doesn't help me. There's too much information. And I am a data person, but it's just too much. There's like this broad spectrum, and I don't know what to think necessarily of any of it at times. Like I'm always training hard. I'm always running my sleep a little bit narrow. And so my numbers are never like 100% in any category. I can see when I've had like a spike in HRV or a crash in HRV. I can see those things, but it's just too much. I don't know, it's just too much. And so I've actually grown to use or to feel like Garmin helps me as much as any of the other devices I'm using. So then you have the Apple Watch Ultra with Superset. Again, I'm gonna say that app's name like 5,000 times because I feel like it really has changed the Apple Watch experience. Superset does a great job handling what the Apple Watch gives it. But the Apple Watch still does not natively track or even accurately track your heart rate variability at night. It takes very low sample rates. If you cheat and turn Apple Health on, say you have an AFib issue, and that's the only way you could make it work, unless you do a breathing exercise first thing in the morning, there's way too much uncertainty, and it's just, it's not right. Plus you'll get these really erroneous high heart rate variabilities, which is just 400% of regular baseline. It's just not accurate. So the Apple Watch really can't totally be trusted, even though there's a great app to take the information in. Then you have the Suunto system. Suunto, the coolest. I like their whole training load tracking. It's the same thing as a lot of these other tenets, and we'll see in Polar as well. Your last week of training relative to your long-term, multi-weeks of training. But they do a great job with coaching and looking at your training type and your training focus areas, and they do a great job with those things. And then on the sleep side, they have resources, which is like Body Battery. It's a smaller subset, and so it doesn't tie into a whole wellness or recovery thing. And then they have HRV. So they track your HRV and they give you, red, yellow, green, or something like that to determine if your HRV last night was good relative to a baseline. So they take a measurement of HRV, and that's a nightly measurement, so that's good. But it's not comprehensive enough. Then you have Coros. Coros is doing the same thing now. They're doing the red, green, yellow, red, yellow, green HRV type tracking, and that's helpful because that's something they weren't doing before. They don't have like a sleep score. So Suunto has a quasi sleep score with resources, but Coros just has, here's your sleep information, but it doesn't tell you anything. So Coros is the weakest when it comes to wellness and recovery. They have a great training load tracking system, and if you're a runner, they're really good because they have a lot of metrics and a lot of things you can utilize from their thing. But then we get to Polar. So that takes Coros. The Coros' Achilles heel is they're very light on the wellness and recovery. But then you have Polar, which I've been testing the Grit X2 Pro. And it's just like, this is really well done. On the training side, you just see like the rigor score, like your training load for that one workout. You see how your training this week it relates to the last 4 weeks, and you can see your blue line, which is sort of like your fitness line, which is just really your long-term chronic, training load, like how much general load you're putting on your body on a longer term basis, your fitness level. But that is great. It's simple and it's clear for your training. And then the wellness side, I feel like, man, they have nailed this for a long time, and it's just been hidden, or it's not been talked about enough, how they do the wellness. They do this analytical thing on the autonomic nervous system side, where it's like your beat-to-beat intervals, your heart rate variability, and your breathing rate every night determines your sort of nervous system recovery, and then your sleep recovery, which is how restless you were, like how much deep sleep, all these sleep aspects in a number score. They take the score for the sleep and the score for the nervous system rejuvenation, and they give you a nightly recharge, and it's simple and it's clean and it works. So Polar has an Achilles heel now that their heart rate tracking for workouts is terrible. It's the worst it's ever been. So that's the thing they have to fully clean up. But I think Polar is still highly competitive in this sports and training watch device world because of those two things. It summarizes both sides of the house really well, and I would say thoroughly, especially on the wellness and recovery side. So that's why I think Polar's still competitive in today's world. It's Vic, your hunter. Thanks so much for watching.